Hey guys, my name is Chase Purtle, and for my informative speech, I will be talking about labral tears and repairs as post-surgery, pre-surgery, and during surgery. So, pre-surgery, as you can see, I did tear my labrum. So, I'm gonna actually tell you exactly what happened to me and use my story to sort of get the pre-surgery, how everything happened, go through. And so for me, I play baseball. I'm an outfielder, and we had a game, and it was very wet in the outfield, and I was running for a fly ball, and I actually slipped out at the warning track by the fence, and I sort of tried to catch myself on the fence, and I grabbed it, and my hand got stuck in the fence, and my body went down, so my arm snatched up, and so my shoulder hyperextended, and it had a really aggressive jerk to it, which this shoulder obviously, but so that caused my labrum to snap. And so going into it, you get an MRI, you go to the doctor, they order an MRI, and it's called something called an arthrograph. And that is where they inject you with dye into your shoulder because it's such a tight socket. It helps see things a lot more clear, different tears, different things like that. So for me, that's what I did, and I had my MRI, and actually the night of my MRI, the doctor called me, told me I had a slap tear. And with labral tears, there's two kinds. There's a Bankart tear, which I actually had that too. I've had two tears in my labrum, and I've had both of them. So a Bankart tear is towards the front of your labrum right here, and this one happens more often when your shoulder dislocates. Mine didn't dislocate, it sort of jumped out, but it didn't fully dislocate, and it caused it to tear right here while I was playing baseball, obviously. And the other one's a slap tear, and the slap tear, it works more with your bicep tendon. So your bicep tendon connects up here into your shoulder head. It's called your glenoid, and your bicep tendon comes up and connects. And so when you do some kind of aggressive motion and it didn't like it, and your bicep pulls really hard, it can cause your labrum to pull with it and have a disconnection there. And that's what I had this time. And so going with the slap tear, he called me and told me I did have a slap tear, and that I would need surgery. And so at the time, everything just sort of seemed like it would be better to go ahead and get the surgery now. So that's what we did. I had surgery on Wednesday. So going into surgery, I sort of knew what I was expecting because I've done it before. So you go in and they give you something called a nerve block, and they use an ultrasound to inject this stuff that causes your brain receptors in your nerves to disconnect almost. You can't feel anything. And so I couldn't move my arm, nothing like that. But it helps with pain for like the first 12 hours, so I'm not hurting. And it sort of helps me get like pain medicine in and sort of prevent it hurting really bad. So they did that, and then eventually, I went to the operating room, and I sit in a chair that sits you up so they can move your shoulder around, find exactly the perfect place to put everything in, and fix it. And so during surgery, what they do is they get the labrum back into place, and your labrum's it plays the role as a cartilage. So it wraps around your entire 360 degrees around your shoulder socket. And so what they do is they have to get it back intact, and they use this thing called anchors. And what anchors do is they're really small. They're probably a couple centimeters in width, and they drill them into your bone, and that helps hold the labrum down. And so I ended up tearing mine pretty bad, worse than he thought it was. And so he had to end up putting 5 in. That covered 3/4 of my entire shoulder socket region, that 360 degrees. And so now, after the first surgery, I had 3 anchors put in. And so now I have 8 total. And so I'm actually having to stay in my sling longer than normal, which the normal time is around 4 weeks. I'm having to stay in it for 6 because everything's so tight, and there's 8 anchors covering my entire shoulder head. So going into post-surgery, I was doing some research, even though I have gone through it before, from Ortho Virginia. They sort of used more of an athlete's perspective on something like this because baseball players are usually the top people to tear their labrum because it's an overhead sport, very aggressive motions. So going into the research, you go in, you have PT, you're in a sling for a while, and then you have PT, all that good stuff. And what they do at first is it's a lot of range of motion stuff. You have internal rotation, external rotation, picking your shoulder up, just getting this kind of motion again to throw a baseball. And so that is sort of, I have my first PT on Thursday of this week coming up, and that's what's going to be going on. And that's going to happen for the first few weeks. And then you work your way into medicine ball stuff, different small weight stuff, band exercises to get all the muscles working again to protect it. And then you work into, a couple months go by, around 4 months, you are able to throw a baseball again for baseball players like myself. And so you have a throwing program, and you have to do it every single day or every other day, whatever it tells you to do. And it's to the T. And if you do that, you will have a full recovery. And I think it's pretty cool to give you guys this speech with my visual aid. Kind of worked out. I know I didn't really want to tear my shoulder, but I'm glad that I got to go through this again to give you guys the best explanation of how labrum surgery goes. Thank you.